through his connections with paramilitaries, he's responsible for the deaths of thousands of people. At least in his 8-year term, 14,000 extrajudicial executions were registered. And he's been like the key point of U.S. imperialism in South America. And this is all part of this whole propaganda machine to clean his image. He comes to after he's had a very controversial past in Colombia. You talk to Colombians who support him would recognize that he has had a very controversial past, and he has blood on his hands. They might not recognize that, but he has blood on his hands. But by coming into these academic circles, by being painted as a soft-spoken academic, he gets all that clean.
Fuera Uribe! Fuera Uribe! Fuera Uribe! Fuera Uribe! Fuera Uribe! Fuera Uribe!
There's a line that needs to be drawn, right? Of the people that are educating, the people that are supposed to, we talk about how we feed the world's leaders, and that's true. And so it's really important that we are extremely critical of everybody who comes in this university to talk to our students about if what they're saying is true and what it means for how we're going to shape this world together.
We don't know what the process is. He was appointed. Seems to have been a presidential appointment, and it was not at all transparent.
They brought him here for one very simple reason. Because he was a president. Because he had his hand on the tiller of power. And that's all that mattered in the making of this decision. That's the reason why there's been a string of people like this come through Georgetown, is because if you're powerful in this sense of power, if you run national organizations, you're welcome here. Because that fits into a conception of education that's shared by many administrators, many faculty, and I'm afraid many students at this university.
Mark Chernick and I wrote a letter from the two of us to the president of Georgetown, and this is one of the concerns that we expressed. We have not received a response, not even a one-sentence thank you for your thoughtful comments.
It's important to note that Uribe's being hired at Georgetown is not an isolated case. It's not about Georgetown per se, although of course there's responsibility there, but it's part of a much broader strategy that the right wing and the military is using to legitimate itself through academia. And so we see that, and we've seen this happening over the past century. It's nothing new. There have been lots of the uses by the military of the academy to legitimate itself, and also to help the military with strategic planning and with its counterinsurgency campaign. So here at AU, for example, just two examples that we have of this sort of whitewashing of war criminals is the fact that Roberto Flores Bermudez, who had been the ambassador from Honduras during the coup in 2009, during the military coup in Washington, who himself was involved in planning the military coup, who was appointed by the illegal de facto president of Honduras as his quote-unquote ambassador following the coup, and who was engaged in illegal activities as an unregistered foreign agent lobbying the government here. He was given the position of diplomat in residence at American University while he was carrying out these crimes and following the crime of plotting a military coup to overthrow a democratically elected president. So AU was providing that cover for him and that legitimacy. Similarly, next semester, J. Paul Bremer, who is responsible for many of the worst atrocities of the Iraq War, will be given the posh position of a professor at SIS. Do we want to be using our name to lend people like this legitimacy, to give them a sort of academic veneer of respectability that perhaps we should be challenging if we are to take a critical perspective?
Higher institutions, be they private or public, are beholden to corporations. They're beholden to people with big money, and so they produce, in many ways, produce the people that are going to carry out these policies later on, who are going to be the ideologues, not necessarily the people that are going to be actually doing the killing, because that's for the poor people to do, but the wealthy elite will go in there and they'll learn how to, maintain the status quo, how to make money, how to eliminate social opposition for the market, and so that's what we're seeing at Georgetown. It's no surprise that Georgetown would do something like that. It's no surprise that American would hire Paul Bremer. It's all about having the big names and about keeping the status quo for the elite.
So this is something that's a lot deeper than just the appointment of Uribe. It's in a sense putting aside what would be thought of as the university's mission, which is to train our students and to conduct serious research, whether it be pure or applied doesn't matter, but to conduct serious research. And none of these people are doing that. And unfortunately, in the case of Georgetown, this kind of appointment seems to take precedence over the real work of the university, which is what the